The FIA could make one decision that instantly wipes out a major advantage for both Red Bull and Ferrari. Their so-called Macarena wing has been linked to a possible ban, but the available source does not identify the design, explain how it moves, name the regulation involved, or confirm that either team failed an official test. Instead, it lists 4 separate FIA stories involving Lewis Hamilton, the British Grand Prix, and Pierre Gasly. So the real danger is not a confirmed ban. It is a new technical standard that could make a previously accepted idea illegal overnight. If that happens, both teams could face emergency redesigns, lost speed, and a championship swing without receiving a traditional penalty. But if no official decision exists, the entire controversy may be built on missing evidence. And the ruling that decides whether this wing is genius or forbidden has still not been revealed. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why this possible FIA decision could become so damaging, you have to separate a ban from a penalty. They sound similar. They are not. A penalty punishes something that has already happened. A ban changes what a team is allowed to use next. And in Formula 1, that second outcome can be even more dangerous. Because Red Bull and Ferrari could lose a major part of their performance without being disqualified from a single race. No dramatic exclusion. No championship points immediately removed. No public declaration that either team cheated. Just one new technical standard, one stricter inspection, and suddenly a design that worked yesterday may no longer be acceptable tomorrow. That is how quickly the balance can change. But there is one fact that must remain clear. The available source does not confirm that the FIA has banned the so-called Macarena wing. It does not identify the exact component. It does not explain how the design supposedly moves. It does not name the regulation under review. And it does not show that Red Bull or Ferrari failed an official test. That means the decision described in the headline is not yet proven. Still, the possibility matters. Because technical rules are not only about what a part looks like while the car is standing still. They are about what that part does when the car reaches full speed. And that difference is where the entire controversy may live. A wing can appear solid inside the garage. It can pass a controlled inspection. It can remain within the measured limit when force is applied in one specific direction. Then, on the track, the real combination of speed, vibration, airflow, and changing pressure may make it behave differently. That does not automatically make it illegal. But it can make the current test incomplete. And if the FIA believes the test is incomplete, the governing body may change the method. That is where Red Bull and Ferrari could face the real threat. Not because officials found a hidden motor. Not because somebody discovered a secret button. Not because a banned device was pulled from inside the wing. The danger could come from something far simpler. The wing may move in a way the previous inspection did not fully measure. Think of checking a bridge by placing weight only in the center. The bridge passes. Then someone applies pressure from the side. The structure reacts differently. The bridge may still be safe. But the first test did not tell the whole story. A Formula 1 wing can face the same kind of question. One load test may show one behavior. A more complex inspection may reveal another. That appears to be the reason the so-called Macarena idea has attracted so much attention. The nickname suggests movement through several directions. Side to side. Up and down. Possibly through different angles. But the source does not provide the official technical definition. So the exact procedure remains unclear. And that uncertainty matters. Because the public hears Macarena wing and imagines something dramatic. A part dancing under pressure. A structure twisting itself into a faster shape. A hidden system that changes the car at high speed. But no such mechanism is confirmed in the available material. What is confirmed is much more limited. The source lists unrelated FIA stories involving Lewis Hamilton, the British Grand Prix, and Pierre Gasly. It does not establish a technical case against Red Bull or Ferrari. That creates a major credibility problem. Because if the supporting material does not describe the wing, then the dramatic claim has no technical foundation inside the source. No test result. No official statement. No instruction to redesign. No confirmation of a future ban. And no proof that either team is facing emergency action. That does not mean a wider technical debate is impossible. It means this document does not prove one. But imagine for a moment that the FIA does introduce a stricter standard. The consequences could be enormous. A wing is not an isolated part. It controls the air before that air reaches other areas of the car. Change the wing, and the airflow changes. Change the airflow, and the floor may behave differently. The rear of the car may lose stability. The tires may heat in another way. The driver may feel less confidence when turning into a corner. One small rule change can spread through the entire car. It is like moving the first piece in a long row of dominoes. Every piece behind it reacts. That is why a forced redesign could hurt Red Bull and Ferrari in completely different ways. The same test may apply to both teams. The performance loss may not be equal. One car may depend heavily on controlled wing movement. Another may use it only as a small advantage. One team may recover quickly. Another may need several races. That is what makes technical directives so powerful. They do not always change the rules for everyone in the same practical way. The wording is equal. The damage is not. And rival teams would understand that immediately. If Red Bull lost front-end efficiency, another team might gain in qualifying. If Ferrari had to stiffen a structure, its straight-line speed could change. If both teams were forced to alter their designs, Mercedes, McLaren, or another rival could benefit without changing anything on their own cars. That is the hidden political side of technical regulation. Every team says it wants fair enforcement. Every team also wants the final interpretation to hurt its competitors more. That is not unusual. It is part of Formula One. A rival sees suspicious movement. It asks the FIA to investigate. The governing body studies the design. The test becomes stricter. And suddenly the competitive order may shift. No overtaking required. No strategy mistake. No driver error. Just a different way of measuring one component. But here is where the word ban can become misleading. The FIA may not need to announce that the Macarena wing is completely forbidden. It could simply tighten the legal tolerance. It could change where force is applied. It could increase the number of inspection points. It could examine movement through several directions. And if the existing design can no longer pass, the practical effect is the same. The wing disappears. Not through a dramatic public ban. Through a test it can no longer satisfy. That would allow the FIA to control the behavior without accusing Red Bull or Ferrari of previous wrongdoing. The teams could say the old design passed every required check. The FIA could say the new test better reflects the intention of the regulation. Both statements could be true. And that is where the argument becomes almost impossible to settle emotionally. Red Bull supporters may say the team was punished for being innovative. Ferrari supporters may say the timing destroyed a promising concept. Rival fans may say the change proves the design was never truly acceptable. But the technical truth may sit in the middle. The wing may have been legal under the old test, then unacceptable under the new one. That sounds contradictory. It is not. Formula One changes its inspection methods because teams keep discovering new ways to use the rules. The sport is a constant battle between invention and control. Designers search for performance. Officials search for ways to measure it. Then the designers search again. That cycle never ends. And the best teams are often the ones closest to the boundary. But being close to the boundary carries risk. A design can be brilliant and fragile at the same time. Brilliant because it creates speed. Fragile because one new interpretation can erase the advantage. That may be the real danger for Red Bull and Ferrari. Not that the wing was secretly illegal. That the design may depend on a technical interpretation the FIA can change. And if that interpretation changes during the season, the teams have no choice but to react. They would need new parts, new simulation work, new setup ideas, new ways to recover the lost balance. That takes time. And time is exactly what a championship team cannot afford to waste. Every week spent fixing the wing is a week not spent improving something else. Every factory resource redirected toward compliance is a resource taken from development. Every alternative design creates new questions. Will it work on high-speed circuits? Will it protect the tires? Will the driver trust it under braking? Will it create more drag? That is how one FIA decision can become much larger than the part being inspected. It can force the team to rebuild the way the car works around that part. And the driver feels the consequences immediately. The engineer sees data. The driver feels hesitation. A small loss of front grip can change when the car turns. A slight increase in drag can make overtaking harder. A different airflow pattern can make the rear unstable. And once confidence disappears, the lap time can disappear with it. That is why Red Bull would be particularly sensitive. Max Verstappen relies on a car that responds immediately. A sharp front end. A predictable rear. A balance he can attack without waiting. If a revised wing changes that relationship, even slightly, the effect may be larger than the raw numbers suggest. Ferrari could face a different problem. Its car may react through tire behavior, straight line efficiency, or the balance between qualifying speed and race pace. The same FIA test could produce two very different engineering crises. And that is exactly why rival teams would watch every new component. They would compare old photographs with new ones. Study the wing under load. Look for changes in the end plates. Listen to driver comments. And monitor whether Red Bull or Ferrari suddenly loses performance at certain types of circuit. But even then, caution would remain essential. A slower weekend would not prove the old design was illegal. A new wing would not prove the team had been ordered to change it. A difficult race could result from weather, tires, setup, or track layout. Formula One performance moves for many reasons. That is why direct evidence matters. An official FIA statement. A technical directive. A failed test. A confirmed request for modification. Without one of those, everything remains interpretation. And based on the source provided, none of those confirmed details appears. That means the possible ban remains a possibility, not a fact. But the missing proof does not make the story unimportant. It reveals the real conflict. The FIA must decide how to stop bodywork from moving beyond the intended limit without punishing normal flexibility. That is much harder than it sounds. Every material bends. Every structure moves. The question is where acceptable movement ends. Too much freedom, and teams may create wings that change shape for performance. Too little freedom, and the regulations may demand something physically unrealistic. The FIA must draw a line that can be measured. Teams must design around that line. And the championship depends on that line being applied equally. That is the real decision. Not whether the wing looks suspicious. Not whether a rival complains. Whether the FIA can create a test that separates natural movement from intentional aerodynamic behavior. If it can, Red Bull and Ferrari will know exactly where they stand. If it cannot, the controversy will continue. Every slow-motion video will create another accusation. Every new wing will become suspicious. Every team will claim that its own design is legal while questioning everyone else. And public trust will keep falling. That is why the final ruling matters so much. A clear standard could end the argument. A vague standard could make it worse. And a sudden change could reshape the championship without a single penalty being issued. So the question is not simply whether the Macarena wing will be banned.